Hey everybody, welcome to Married with Wrestling. I'm Susan and this is Chris, and we talk about wrestling.
Yep, we talk about the major North American promotions, WWE, AEW, and we include NXT in that. But sometimes you catch up with Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and kick things off. So let's talk about King and Queen of the Ring. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're heading into the semifinals. We're in the quarterfinals. So, just as a recap, on the Raw side of things for the men, Jey Uso beat Ilya Dragunov, and Gunther beat Kofi Kingston. So the finals on the Raw side is going to be Jey Uso versus Gunther. They had a good match before. I have no reason to think they won't otherwise have a good match. However, we'll circle back to that because I'll talk about some people's concerns that I've seen online, and we'll kind of go from there. On the SmackDown side of things, Tama Tonga beat LA Knight, and Randy Orton beat Carmelo Hayes for the men. On the women's side of things, for Raw, Io Sky beat Shayna Baszler, Lyra Valkyria beat Zoe Stark, Bianca Belair beat Tiffany Stratton, and Nia Jax beat Jade Cargill. So we'll jump into that in a minute. So first thing I want to say is, these matches that they've done in the qualifying rounds have been excellent.
Yeah, they have been. They've got a lot of time to showcase the match. Mm-hmm. They've been good.
And everybody that's made it that far has looked like a credible threat. Other than Ronda Rousey, I can't think of the last significant victory that Shayna Baszler had, but she looked competitive against Io Sky.
Yeah.
And I love that they brought in their NXT history. There's lore now. It's not run by a 70-year-old man who forgot what they did last week because he's got so much going on. There's lore and continuity and history, and it's just another example of why WWE's crushing it. They're bringing up shit that from 10 years ago during the Orton and Carmelo Hayes match, they were talking about the intermittent explosive disorder thing that Randy did. That was a story from 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're bringing it back too. It's starting to reward you for being a fan. Oh shit, yeah, I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That's in addition to the matches already just kind of being really good. So, that being said, in the semifinals on the Raw side, we've got Jey Uso versus Gunther. A lot of people are worried that the Bloodline is going to kind of hijack King of the Ring, and we're going to get Jey Uso and Tama Tonga in the finals. I can definitely see why that would alarm some people, especially where people have said, and in order for that to happen, Gunther already has to lose again. I see the concern, but at the same time, I'm a Gunther person. Gunther can't win forever.
No.
He can't. I think King of the Ring is perfect for somebody like him. I think he should absolutely win the whole damn thing. But, I don't know. To me, I understand story-wise why Jey Uso and Tama Tonga would be the finals, but in my heart, I want it to be Gunther versus Randy Orton. Because I think that match would rule.
That would be a
Because
really
Gunther
good
hasn't
match.
wrestled Randy Orton before that I'm aware of.
That would be nice.
I think that sounds more fun than Jey Uso and Tama Tonga, personally.
Yeah.
Story-wise, Jey and Tonga makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think for the good of King of the Ring, it should be Gunther and Orton.
Yeah. I mean, I would be fine with either, I think.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people were upset at LA Knight and the way that he lost to Tama Tonga because you say it every time. LA's mouth gets him in trouble.
It does, yes.
But LA Knight overall had a pretty good night because LA Knight had an interaction. We saw LA Knight 4 times on SmackDown, which is great. Great. So, the first time we saw LA Knight, he was coming out of Nick Aldis's office and had a stare down with Logan Paul. Yes. And everybody was like, oh my god, they're really going to do LA Knight and Logan Paul for the U.S. title like everybody wanted.
Feud.
I think that might happen at SummerSlam, and I think Logan might lose at SummerSlam. I think LA Knight would be a really great U.S. champion. It would give him something to do, get him some wins back, because it does feel like he's been losing a lot recently.
Yes, it does.
So that's the first time we saw LA Knight. And then the next time we saw LA Knight, he was doing an interview before his match with Tama Tonga. And Carmelo Hayes walked up. And I'm a Carmelo Hayes guy. Carmelo Hayes walked into a fucking buzzsaw. Because he just showed up and LA Knight just stripped him down naked in the public square and spanked him and sent him on his way.
He did.
Like he pretty much made fun of Carmelo. He was like, nobody remembers the first round draft pick of Tom Brady, which I found out on the boards later was a gentleman by the name of Courtney Brown. I don't even know if he's still in the league. I doubt it because Tom Brady just left and he was in the league for over 20 years. I think he went to the Browns, maybe. I don't know. It's not a football podcast, so I'm not sure. But in that time, he also... what was the thing that he said? He was talking about... Carmelo Hayes said something about...
He said he was
the
him.
3 most dangerous letters won't be RKO, they'll be HIM. And LA Knight just claps back with, hey, look who won the spelling bee. And then LA Knight ends this promo with Carmelo. And Carmelo is not a bad promo. Like, he's keeping up fine. But then LA just toasted him because on his way out, LA Knight literally says, why don't you go play somewhere? I'm busy. And then just walks to the ring to go beat Tama Tonga. And it's just like... Carmelo Hayes got eviscerated, but it's not his fault. Like, he kept up, he held up his end of the bargain. He did fine for him, but LA Knight was just cooking on a different level last night. I don't know if it was the showdown with Logan Paul and him realizing that's where his career's going and him being extra excited. I don't know, but he was cooking with some different oil last night. I even saw people online that were like, I'm not an LA Knight fan, but that dude just eviscerated Carmelo Hayes. So then the third appearance we got of LA Knight was he comes out, he does his match with Tama Tonga, and he loses because he can't leave Solo alone. As I saw online, someone saying Solo dressed like The Weeknd.
Yeah.
And then after LA Knight loses that match, he gets into it again with Carmelo Hayes in the back. So it looks like what we're going to do is LA Knight's going to feud with Carmelo Hayes until it's time to feud with Logan Paul for the U.S. title. I like that for LA Knight. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that with Carmelo Hayes because I think LA Knight needs to win that feud to be credible for the U.S. title, but I don't think it's time for Carmelo Hayes to lose a feud. Especially since he's a first-round draft pick.
I mean, Carmelo just got called up to the main roster. I think it's okay if he loses a feud.
Yeah. We'll see on that one. But the Randy Orton-Carmelo Hayes match was really fun. Carmelo Hayes is really good, and he kept up with Orton great.
Yeah.
But the ending, he was springboarding off, and like me and everyone online were like, oh no, don't do that. And then boom, RKO, he was done.
Yeah. It was a really good match.
It was. Like, these King of the Ring matches have been really, really good.
Yes. And clean.
Yeah, so next week, we'll get there. We're not talking about the Queens yet.
Okay.
And there's one exception to that this week, but it was a story thing. So on the SmackDown side, LA Knight and Tama Tonga and Randy Orton, I could see Orton losing because of the bloodline.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I don't know how Jey Uso beats Gunther unless he just straight up beats him.
Yeah.
Which he could. I mean, they already showed that if it wasn't for Jimmy Uso, he probably would have. So the seeds have been planted for Jey to win.
Why can't Jimmy come back and help?
That's what people think is going to happen at King of the Ring itself.
Oh.
He's going to come back and help Jimmy beat Tama Tonga for King of the Ring.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Which that's where people's concern is that, oh cool, the King of the Ring was all done to just serve the bloodline like everything else has been for the past couple of years. So, and I see a lot of people that are like, this new version of the bloodline isn't doing it for me. And I saw people online that were posting.
I love this version of the bloodline.
Well, here's what's funny is people were talking about how like they don't feel like it's working, they don't feel like Solo's a leader, and somebody actually posted a response. They were like, I think that's the fucking point. It's supposed to feel like a not so good version because the main players are going to come back and take it back over or disband it or something.
Yeah.
When like the crowd chants for "We Want Roman" are really, really loud.
Yeah.
Vince is probably sitting somewhere going, I knew it would happen eventually. But yeah, and I think it's interesting that everybody's so ready for Roman to come back and we're so quick to forgive the 3 years that he held the title hostage. But at the same time,
Yeah.
The way the crowd's been responding to him, he's going to get a pretty massive pop when he comes back.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it because I enjoy Roman Reigns a lot. I wish he was on TV more, but I get where they say it adds to his aura that he's not. I know sometimes you get frustrated with it, but I think with you it was more you were frustrated with how the title was. Like you understand why Roman's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's going to hit really well, I think. So yeah, that's how the men's has been shaping out. I expect the semifinals to also be really good matches. I mean, these are 4 really good wrestlers. So I'm not I would say not really good. I would put probably Orton, Gunther in the great category, and Tama Tonga and Jey Uso in the very good category. That's the men's side. So let's switch over and look at the women. Okay, so on the women's side of things, for the Raw matches, we had Io Sky beating Shayna Baszler, Lyra Valkyria beating Zoe Stark. There's not really much to say about these matches. They were good.
Yeah.
Shayna
Baszler looked better than she has in a while.
Yeah, they let Shayna Baszler cook. Yeah. And it's just really interesting. I mentioned this to you during the show. It's crazy because we loved Black and Gold NXT. It's still weird for me for, it not to be... for Shayna not to win everything sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when they let her cook like she did against Io Sky.
Yeah.
But, like I said earlier, Michael Cole called on the history between them and NXT, which I think really added to the match.
Yeah.
And the match was good. I've seen a lot of people say they want Io Sky to win Queen of the Ring. Honestly, I don't know who's going to win it based on who's left.
Yeah.
But I have some ideas of what might happen. We'll get into those in a minute.
Yeah.
Lyra Valkyria versus Zoe Stark, same thing. It was a really good match. They let Zoe cook. It kind of feels like Zoe's kind of gotten forgotten a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was nice for her to be able to show that off. They clearly have big plans for Lyra, which is crazy because nobody really thought she was getting called up yet.
No.
So, but it does make sense in the fact that she had the NXT Women's Championship, but there wasn't really anywhere else to go.
No, and then they literally had her beat Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I mean that's as far as she can go with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen people think that they might crown her Queen of the Ring to let NXT call up make a splash, and to offset the potential men's side of things where it's the dudes that are always at the top fighting for King of the Ring.
Yeah.
I could see that. Bianca Belair versus Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton pretty much... This is on SmackDown. This was another really, really good match. This was a pay-per-view match hiding in the opening match of SmackDown.
Yeah.
And it was really good. And Tiffany Stratton is so damn good for as little as she's been doing this. When she started wrestling, we were on our way out of the peak of the pandemic. February of 2021 was when she started wrestling. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's May 2024. That's insane that she can do that. But a lot of people took issue with this match. They took issue with the fact that Bianca is starting to feel like 2000s John Cena, where she never really loses.
Yeah.
She had her leg busted all to shit. And Tiffany Stratton still...
I just want to point out, this is the longest I think it's taken for you to cuss in a podcast episode.
And I'm not even angry.
I know.
But her leg was all beaten, and she was limping around, and she hit the KOD on Tiffany Stratton while she was limping, and a lot of people thought that this was just Bianca being a little too strong. I get it, but at the same time, Bianca is clearly the face of the women's division. But I have also, and this I think is a little worrisome, I have seen people compare Bianca and how often she wins and how often it can stunt someone's momentum. She's getting a lot of Charlotte Flair comparisons these days.
Oh.
I don't think you want to be in that camp. You want to be in that camp for reasons of Charlotte Flair's really good, so you want to feel like you're really good. But a lot of people turn on Charlotte because she always wins, and she's always in the title picture.
Yeah.
And plus, a lot of people said Bianca Belair doesn't need it. She's a tag champion. Spend time building up the tag championships.
Agreed. I agree on that one.
Speaking of the tag championships, we got Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill. And the result of this one was kind of a hornet's nest online. Because what happened was the whole... And I don't think anybody was going to be happy however it went down. Because the comments that I was seeing, people were like, oh my god, they're really going to do Bianca and Jade Cargill this early. Oh my god, they're already doing Jade Cargill and Nia Jax this early. And everybody's like, oh my god, they're blowing their load here. Da, 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 da. And what happens is about, 2-3 minutes into the match, Nia goads Jade Cargill with the chair, and Jade smacks her with the chair and gets DQ'd.
Yeah.
Now,
which is just funny because Nia did accidentally hit her in the face with the chair, so I'm pretty sure her cheek was bleeding.
Yeah, when she tried to catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looked cool, but you could see it go, it had to hurt, but she didn't treat it like it hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a folding chair to the face sounds great. But this even elicited chants from the crowd of bullshit. Mm-hmm. I honestly think I also saw where somebody said just don't put Jade in King of the Ring, but I think that's a mistake because there's people bitching that Braun Breaker's not in King of the Ring.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was an option with Jade either. So
yeah,
I feel like with the position they put themselves in and what they wanted to do, I feel like, and this is probably going to burn a lot of people, I don't know that there's a better way they could have done it. Because you've protected Jade. Jade didn't take a pin. Nia gets some heat for being technically Jade's first loss. And Nia's going to take that into her match with Bianca Belair. And on the one hand, a lot of people were saying, please not Nia Jax for King of the Ring. But on the other hand, there's people saying that with Bianca having a bad leg, if Nia can't beat her, that's going to make Nia look really stupid. So,
yeah,
I think at this point, I think you got to have. I'm feeling like the ending might be Nia versus Lyra.
Maybe
is what I'm thinking.
I
Maybe
really don't
Io.
know.
I don't know. Io, Sky, Lyra, Valkyria match. I'm not sure who's winning that.
Yeah,
I have no idea. Actually, either women's match, I'm not sure who's winning. But yeah, and the women have busted out some really good matches too. So this has been WWE's chance to be like, yes, we tell great stories, but also we could put on really good matches, which, is about the only thing that AEW had left over them, and now WWE is starting to assert its dominance there as well.
Yeah.
So, King of the Ring so far, I think, has been a success. It just sucks that we won't see the conclusion because they're doing it in a country that doesn't respect human rights. And that's where SmackDown is next week, too, as well. So, we won't be watching the event, but we'll catch the results and see what happened. Like, last year I caught highlights. I was pissed off last year because I was like, of course, the Usos turned on Roman. They turned on Ray Romano. No. They turned on Roman at either Crown Jewel or Super Show, whatever the fuck they call their shows. They turned on him there, and I was like, damn, I'm sorry I missed that. Yeah, I think King and Queen of the Ring has been really fun.
Yes, I agree.
And the lineup was killer from the beginning. Alright, so let's switch gears over to AEW. So AEW has Double or Nothing coming up a week from today, based on when the video is uploaded. It'll be the day before Memorial Day. And Double or Nothing's card is shaping up to be pretty good. Mm-hmm. We've got, so far, we have the Anarchy in the Arena match, which we're going to break down a little bit more in just a minute. Swerve's going to defend his title against Christian Cage. A lot of people were like, why is it Christian Cage? It's fine. It's an easy first feud for Swerve to win. It's fine. Plus, Christian Cage, who's complaining about Christian Cage on their TV?
I know. Shut up. I want more, please.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Roddy and Will Ospreay for the international title. I've seen people say, oh, why is Ospreay chasing a mid-card title? There's a lot of dumping on AEW these days. And I think a lot of people in AEW forget. They're like, Okada's being pushed horribly. Jay White's being pushed horribly. Will Ospreay's being pushed horribly. Do you want them all to be champ? Because they can't be. You can only pick one. And Swerve was the hottest guy in the company. And I have done a lot of dumping on Tony Khan lately and his booking. However, I feel like based on the reactions that are happening in the building, Swerve was the guy that you crowned. That was the correct call. Mm-hmm. But I see people talk about, their ratings are in the toilet. It's because WWE's good. There's 12 hours of wrestling a week, and people are going to pick probably the one that's the most established, especially if it's not dog shit. And WWE is very far from dog shit right now. Mm-hmm.
But what are the rest of the matches that you got off topic?
There is Willow Nightingale against Mercedes Moné. A lot of people have said Mercedes Moné has been a bust. Mercedes Moné has not wrestled yet. I know promos aren't her strong suit, especially babyface type promos. She's more of a natural heel. But I feel like I'm seeing so many negatives toward AEW these days, and there's people saying, like, you don't realize AEW is not a bad show. WWE is just cooking on a level they haven't cooked on in decades.
Yeah.
It's literally David and Goliath. We've got Toni Storm and Serena Deeb. That match will be really good, because Serena Deeb's really good, and I'm glad that she's back. I still am wondering when Britt Baker's coming back, if she's coming back. Yeah. And I kind of feel like they're going to bring her back when Jamie Hayter's ready to come back.
Maybe.
And do you feel like that that there's a chance that they could have Jamie Hayter win the title back from Toni Storm in London?
Maybe.
I feel like that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But as far as the Anarchy in the Arena, we did have a shift in the lineup this week. So the original lineup, the lineup going into the show, or I should say the lineup at the end of the show last week, was the Elite, which is the Young Bucks, Jack Perry, and Kazuchika Okada's in the Anarchy in the Arena, against FTR, Eddie Kingston, and Bryan Danielson. And they're billing it as Team Elite versus Team AEW, which is really funny because Elite is in the name of AEW, but it's fine.
I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. So.
But anyway, Eddie Kingston had an injury at a New Japan show over the weekend. I think it was a broken leg was what I saw, which really sucks because, Eddie cooks in Anarchy in the Arena type matches. I feel like that's a bread and butter for him. However, they went and got to replace him, maybe the one person that would do crazier stuff than Eddie Kingston. Dynamite ended with Darby Allin coming out and making the save for Danielson and FTR when the Elite were beating them up. So Darby Allin has been added to Anarchy in the Arena, which I definitely think is the right call if you're trying to replace Eddie Kingston craziness, because Darby Allin's going to do some stuff that is probably really ill-advised, and 10 out of 10 doctors would not recommend you do.
Yeah.
I think that match will be really fun. Anarchy in the Arena usually is really fun. It's just chaos. It's a car crash match. I love car crash matches.
Don't mind me over here.
I'm not. I like plunder and weapons and destruction. I don't necessarily need them bleeding out on the floor like a Jon Moxley type match.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the car crash style, and Anarchy in the Arena is just that. I know Anarchy in the Arena you like, but it's really hard for you to keep up because usually there's two cameras going at the same time, and they split the screens.
Yeah.
I think for you sometimes it feels like there's too much going on.
Yes.
So, I think...
I enjoy them, though.
Yeah. I think, as far as Anarchy in the Arena... Now, let's back up a minute. There are a lot of people blaming the low ratings of Dynamite on the Bucks being so featured. And I kind of wonder how much of it is legit and how much of it is just for some reason. People really have a hatred for the Bucks. I noticed. I'm indifferent. I don't love them. I don't hate them.
Yeah.
But there are people that, they treat the Young Bucks like they're, a plague on humanity. It's crazy. But I think the main thing that boils down to the AEW ratings is the fact that I think it's just when the primary is cooking, there's no need for an alternative. It's like when you go to the store. If Dawn dish soap's on sale and the Walmart brand costs just as much, you're probably going to go ahead and get Dawn because it's on sale and it's good. So, I'm not saying that AEW is like a Walmart knockoff of WWE. I'm just using that as an example. I think story-wise, I think the most interesting thing that can happen out of this and produce more story is for the Elite to win this. I feel like there's more story there for the Elite to win rather than they come up against this one match and then they lose.
Yeah, because they're trying to be this, they're in charge type thing. Mm-hmm. So it makes most sense if they win.
Yeah.
But they've literally been beating everybody down, so it would be their comeuppance.
It would be, but I don't think it's time for the comeuppance yet. Mm-hmm. I think the Elite has to win this. I'm not sure how long they're going to run this, because I would have thought originally that they were going to run this until Kenny Omega came back, and Kenny Omega might bring Hangman Page with him. But Kenny Omega said on his stream earlier this week that he decided to do the surgery, which was probably the right call. But the way that he's talking, he feels pretty confident that he's going to be able to not only come back, but come back at the level that he was in the early days of AEW. If Kenny can do that, great. My number one concern is just that Kenny's healthy. That's all I wish for any wrestler, is just they stay healthy. We don't want anybody out there, taking risks they don't need to take. But at the same time, I understand. I've seen enough and heard enough wrestlers talking about when they're injured that it's, for a lot of them, it's very, very hard to stay away. It's a very hard thing to not be doing when it's what you do. But that being said, I think the Elite wins here. I think Hangman Page comes back at some point when he's done with his time off. And I think rather than chase Swerve like a lot of people think he's going to do, I think he's going to focus more on the Elite. I kind of feel like him and Swerve's feud could be put to bed for a minute. Yeah. And they could always bring it back later.
Yeah.
It's a feud that really worked. Those two dudes really work well off of each other. There's no reason to not put that on ice and bring it back in a little bit.
Agreed.
Yeah. But that seems to be the main story for AEW is the Elite stuff. I've seen a lot of complaints where people have said that Swerve kind of feels like a backseat with his world title because the Elite dominates the show. I mean, the Elite was the one that sent Christian Cage out there to fight Swerve in the first place, so I do think Swerve is also entwined in that story, just not to the extent everybody else is. But we'll talk about Swerve here in a little bit. I have him singled out as kind of a discussion point for him, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But for now, I want to switch back over to AEW, or not AEW, WWE, and talk about their world title picture. Okay, so on the world title side of things for WWE, on the one hand, on Raw, we've got, it's kind of interesting, we've got Drew McIntyre chasing the world title and chasing CM Punk. And this is the first week that really he interacted with Damian Priest for a while. Of course, CM Punk wasn't there. But I kind of feel like, do you kind of feel like the way that he's been treated so far, that Damian Priest is kind of transitional champion? Like, I kind of feel like they're just having him hold it until Drew takes it from him at Clash of the Castle.
I mean, I could see it, yeah.
I feel like what we're going to do on that side is we're going to have Drew and Damian Priest at Clash of the Castle. Drew's going to win in Scotland. Because I think what they've done is they gave him his moment at WrestleMania where he won in front of the fans for all of 5 minutes. And then he's going to win at Clash of the Castle in front of Scotland. I think they are lining up some rewards for Drew for the work that he's put in. And he absolutely deserves it. Drew McIntyre has been killing it since, Royal Rumble. Since CM Punk's injury. Drew McIntyre has been absolutely crushing it. To me, he's the big story on Monday Night Raw. It feels like his story is the biggest over there. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do Drew at Clash and maybe Punk at SummerSlam. Is what I'm thinking. If Punk's ready to go by SummerSlam, which I think they're projecting him to be ready by SummerSlam, I think. He's already got the cast off, so it's just a matter of time. On the SmackDown side of things, Cody Rhodes is definitely being treated like King of the Castle over on SmackDown. We don't have the same concerns with Damian Priest that we have over there, which would be fine. Plus, it's really hard to make Cody feel like an afterthought because he just has such presence when he's out there. But he and Logan Paul had a contract signing. It was a really fun segment. Logan Paul has been he's a great adversary for Cody because he, as I saw somebody put it online once, Logan Paul is high off his own farts all the time. All the time. And Cody can kind of be high on his own farts too. So it's kind of fun to watch these two clash. And it's been fun because it's like, I feel like Logan Paul's a different kind of opponent than Cody's had. Because Roman had his faction. Roman had his, I'm the guy, you can't beat me. When he fought the Judgment Day, it was a numbers game. When he fought Rollins, it was just kind of like Rollins was kind of like picking at him and stuff. But Logan Paul just comes in, and Logan Paul's just this arrogant asshole. And, Cody just has to sit there and be diplomatic with him. It's like literally whenever you have somebody come in. And one of the fun things for me to do whenever Logan Paul's been talking is to just watch Cody Rhodes' facial expressions. And it's kind of like watching a parent when you're, a parent's reaction when their teenager's going off the fucking rails and just writing checks their belly can't cash. So I really like to watch Cody just sit back there and just every time Logan says something, he's just like you could tell he wants to say something back. So that's been the fun part for me. Logan Paul, of course, weaseled his way out of defending his title, so we're not going to crown Cody double champ, which is fine. I don't really know where you would have gone with that, so I think that's the right call. A lot of people were like, oh, way to minimize the stakes, WWE. No, the stakes that were set up were kind of stupid, let's be real. What was Cody going to do with 2 titles? Nothing. You would have had to have him lose to drop the U.S. title anyway, or he would have vacated it, which would have been dumb. So it fits Logan Paul's character to bring his own lawyer and be like, yeah, I'm not defending my title, fuck that. That is completely within character of Logan Paul, and that's the absolute right call. I know it burns a lot of people, but a double title match doesn't really need to happen here. So I think it was better that Logan Paul got some heat for taking that away from everybody. That being said, their match is in Saudi. I think it'll be a good match. Logan Paul is much better in the ring than he should be. And Cody Rhodes is WWE's resident storyteller, it seems like.
Yeah.
Especially with Roman on the shelf. Roman was chief storyteller there for a while. But it's kind of factored over to Cody. But Roman's got his own story waiting for him when he comes back. And I like that he's going to go back and feud with his family. I think keeping Roman away from the title will be good. Because I think he's got enough on his plate to deal with without having to add the title into it.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I think the world title scene in WWE is looking pretty good. Even though Priest looks like a transitional champion, Cody still feels like the big deal that he is. Now, on the flip side in AEW, with Swerve's world title reign, I've seen a lot of people take issue with Swerve's title reign. I think I have boiled down my issue with Tony Khan's booking. We don't build to anything.
No.
We, Swerve versus Brian Cage. That could have been a story in itself, and that could have been Swerve's first big defense. We could have, because all we did was there was a Swerve beatdown, and then the next week, Swerve got revenge, and then this week, he faced Brian Cage, and Excalibur literally said it on there. He was like, well, now that Swerve has vanquished the Mogul Embassy, are you kidding me? In 2 weeks? A group that he was with for months? He's done with it in 2 weeks? Are you serious? Hell no. Brian Cage could have been built up enough. I mean, look at the dude. You could build him up easily to be a credible threat to Swerve, and they could have done this shit on pay-per-view. Like I said, I am not opposed to Christian Cage being in the match, but Double or Nothing is a week from Saturday, and Christian Cage has kind of felt like second fiddle to Swerve's feud with Mogul Embassy right now. So I don't understand, especially when you're running a pay-per-view a month at this point, I don't understand why we don't build shit more. This is the one part I think that has hurt AEW having pay-per-views every month, is they used to be able to do stuff like this, because it'd be 3 months to a pay-per-view, so you would dispatch Brian Cage on a special episode of Dynamite. It would at least be built to. Not, hey, next week we're going to do this and then it's over. And then you would have Christian for the pay-per-view match. But Tony Khan's still booking like he's got 5 pay-per-views a year when he's got closer to 8 or 9. And I just think that that's the big problem. We're not building things. As soon as it's this could happen, it happens. They've burned through a lot of dream matches just doing it on random TV to try to pop a rating.
Yeah.
And it's just not working. You had Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher on a random episode of Dynamite, and the whole story behind that was the Don Callis family wants to sharp iron with iron. Build these into pay-per-view matches. Come on. Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher would have torn the roof off at a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Not a half-attended Dynamite because you're charging pay-per-view prices for Dynamite tickets. There's no build. And it's frustrating.
It is. I can tell we're getting on the negative side.
It is. And I know I just talked about people giving Tony shit.
I know, you did.
But it is. It's so frustrating. Nothing builds. We had... And the random matches. Dax Harwood fought Dynamite Kid's nephew, I think it was. And the match was good. And the kid's really good. Don't get me wrong. I think his name was Tommy Billington.
Doesn't he go by Dynamite Kid too?
Dynamite Kid Tommy Billington, yeah. It was a really good match. It was a really good showcase for him. All it was done to do was to give Dax Harwood a really good match to go up and just lose to Kazuchika Okada this week. Once again, Dax Harwood, Kazuchika Okada, you could have built that for a little bit. why do we blow our load so early? Like,
Why are you referring to it like that?
Because that's the only phrase I got today. I just don't understand why we're not building. Like, clearly he knows how to build because the elite stuff is building. There's building blocks there in place. Why aren't we doing this for everything else? Like they're doing, like, on Double or Nothing, the equivalent of their WrestleMania. They're doing a Jon Moxley versus Konosuke Takeshita, which sounds great, especially since Jon Moxley's IWGP champion. Did you know that the match between those two is just an eliminator match? So Takeshita has to beat Moxley at the biggest show of the year just to get a match against him on a random Dynamite if he would win. That's ass backwards.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why he's not getting this. Like, for example, look at Cody and Logan Paul. Cody and Logan Paul has been a thing for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Just 2 weeks. They have not gotten physical. It's been 2 promo battles. That feels like a big deal match.
Yeah.
Like, in 2 weeks, they have built something that feels like it's been building for a month.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you can put the pieces in there, you can build stuff 2 weeks at a time like that. But you have to make the build something. The build can't just be, oh, this dude wrestled this dude over here for 20 minutes, and now he's ready for the champ. No. Give them interaction. Give them promos against each other. MJF did this shit.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Like, I don't understand. And I think I'm so negative about it because I worry that Tony's going to run AEW into the ground. And the existence of AEW helps everybody. It made WWE step up their game. Wrestlers are making more money now than they ever have. Like, AEW's existence, whether you like it or not, AEW's existence is very good for the business, and it's paid dividends for the dudes doing the business, which is what it should have been in the first place. Wrestling industry should have always been about the wrestlers because that's who puts on the shows.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be about Triple H or Vince McMahon or Tony Khan. It should be about the people that are in the ring doing the dangerous shit and getting people to tune in and watch.
Yes. Well, I'm going to be completely honest, though. I forget where we were going with this to begin with.
Basically, we're kind of comparing Swerve's title reign to other title reigns that we've seen.
Okay.
Like, it's fine. Like, Cody hasn't wrestled a match since he won the title except against Carmelo Hayes. That's fine. And that was a showcase match. That was them saying, look, Carmelo's here. Carmelo's going to be a big deal. Carmelo was never designed to win that match. It was just to put him out there and show him that he's on the level of the top person. It was a perfect way to build up Carmelo Hayes. Yeah. And I love what they're doing with Carmelo Hayes because Carmelo Hayes' gimmick seems to be right now, I'm just going to start shit with anybody that I happen to run into in the back.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be more toward Bobby Lashley than LA Knight, but Bobby Lashley got hurt.
Yeah. Which
really sucks. Because I was kind of looking forward to watching Carmelo bounce off of Bobby Lashley, but here we are. I think an LA Knight feud is a nice placeholder. Plus, if that was going to happen, I don't know what we would have done with LA Knight. Mm-hmm. But back to my original point. Damian Priest hasn't wrestled since he won the title.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. You don't have to have... In AEW, they tell the story, everybody's a fighting champion.
Yeah.
Your world champion doesn't have to wrestle every week. That's dumb anyway. What if he goes out there in a random Dynamite against, I don't know, Bishop Khan, and he breaks his damn leg? Then you've lost Swerve potentially fighting all these people that he got feuds with because you put him in a random match on Dynamite that he didn't need to be in and made it go 15 minutes for no damn reason. Like... You've got to let your champions have some aura, and I think that's what's missing in AEW sometimes is the champions don't have aura because they're made to fight like literally everybody else. Nobody feels like a special attraction.
Yeah.
Like I saw somebody the other day, they said Bryan Danielson even feels like a mid-card guy. Like he has no aura over there now because he's lost so much and he's in all these random feuds that he just feels like another mid-card dude. I saw that criticism of AEW this week, and I kind of agree with the exception of about 4 people. They said everybody over there feels mid-card. And the exceptions that I saw to that was Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. Mm-hmm. They feel like they have aura because they don't wrestle that often. I do think there's some truth to that. And I do think that might be the core of AEW's problems is no one is sticking out because no one is able to stick out. And I think that's what happens when you let wrestlers run their own shit. Nobody wants to look weak. Everybody wants their matches to go 15, 20 minutes. Nobody wants to lose in 5 minutes. And sometimes you have to. For the sake of the story, sometimes you have to. Carmelo's debut match with Cody, it was 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's not that long, but Carmelo made damn good use of that 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And Cody made him look like $1 million, and we all thought Cody hurt his shoulder.
Yeah.
And guess what? He hasn't wrestled since, except for AJ Styles at Backlash. It's fine if your champion doesn't wrestle. It lets them build aura. You don't have to take it to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar levels. But, having your champion wrestle at every pay-per-view and only participate in maybe a tag match if the story suits it, and the rest of the time just talk themselves up, that's fine. You can do that. But at the end of the day, I do still love that Swerve is champion. I do think it's the right call. I just think we need to make sure that we make this reign count. Like, we need to do something with this reign, because at this point right now, the other person that people said felt main event was MJF. MJF, Moxley, and Omega. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. Those 3 dudes are really good, but you've got to have people ready to go at a moment's notice. I mean, how many people in WWE do you see as main event level? Cody, Styles, Orton. LA Knight's just about there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of dudes that you could put in a Jey Uso. Gunther. There's a lot of dudes you could put in that spot, and when they're in a main event, it doesn't feel out of place that they're there.
Yeah.
They gave a 20-minute main event to Chad fucking Gable, and he felt main event when he wrestled Gunther for the Intercontinental title. So, AEW, that's my advice. Let your people stick out, separate your stars from your mid-carders, and let some shit cook and build. For goodness sakes.
Yeah.
But
all right.
I think that's going to do it for our show today. I promise. I still love wrestling. I still love AEW. I promise. But I think just like with anything, if you love something, part of that love is seeing the flaws and knowing that they're there and wanting them to improve. I think we do that with, the TV shows that we like. I think we do that with, countries that we live in. I think we do it with people that we love. It's fine to recognize flaws and want it to get better. Doesn't mean you hate the product.
Right.
But
well, let's end on a happy note, though. No more negativity talk.
Yeah, wrap us up with the socials.
Married with Wrestling.
Okay, there you go. and that's changed over on Facebook, YouTube, and
nope, that's it.
Facebook and YouTube. Okay. All right. But we will be back next week to talk more wrestling. King and Queen of the Ring is also next Saturday. So we've got literally King and Queen of the Ring next Saturday, and the Sunday after that is Double or Nothing. So we've got some big shows coming up. Like I said, we don't watch the Saudi show, but that's just a personal thing for us. The card looks like it's going to be banging. It's probably going to be a really good show because WWE doesn't miss much anymore. Even their weekly shows fly by, and after it's done, you're like, wow, that was really fun. And AEW's pay-per-views, despite the lackluster build we get sometimes, AEW could usually be counted on for a pretty great wrestling pay-per-view.
Yes.
And I don't have any doubt that they'll succeed in that again this year. Or this pay-per-view. Probably this year as well. But we'll see you next week. Go find wrestling. Go find wrestling that you like. And we'll talk to you then.
Later.